work together, then success takes care of itself. As Henry Ford once said, and I'm sure all of us agree with this. I'm Isha Phalla, and I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to this very exciting episode of the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories. The Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories is a series brought to you by ET Edge, where we get to converse with CXOs when they are not in the CXO mode. The key to cutting chai conversation is really to have a good discussion around the areas of our guests' early life, their education to grooming, their training, business skills, leadership style, augmentation to work-life balance, and really so much more. I'm so very excited to introduce to you our very special guest today. We have with us Mr. Rahul Chaudhary, Head Technology and Product Global B, who comes with an experience of over 12 years. Rahul has gathered diverse experience working with startups and enterprises in logistics, e-commerce, fintech, insurance, banking, and so much more. So let us look forward to this very, very exciting conversation. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Chaudhary.
Thanks a lot for the introduction and those kind words, Isha.
Mr. Chaudhary, our viewers here are so looking forward to learning from you. So let me start by really asking you what your growing up years were like. Take us through that beautiful journey that you've had that has made you the person that you are today.
Okay, so my father, he retired as the CIO of ONGC, right? So being in a PSU, what it means is that you get to travel a lot in India, right? So I was born. My schooling happened in Gujarat, Vadodara, right? And then I came to Delhi, right? So these are three states. I briefly had a stint in Assam as well, a very short one, right? So a lot of my friends, although I belong to UP, Agra, but a lot of my friends do call me Guju from Hut, right? So it does help me with respect to handling the business. थोड़ा बहुत बचपन में काफी कुछ सीख भी लिया था because of the friends that we had, right? The friend circle and all. So there's a decent amount of business mindset that's there, right? So yeah, that's about it.
Wonderful. So making sure that the business thought is there, the entrepreneurial spirit is there, and at the same time, the leadership qualities. We'd love to know from you that what do you feel is your leadership style like, and how do you think that it has changed in the last couple of years? If we look at pre-COVID and post-COVID days, how do you think you have changed as a person, as a leader?
I would not say pre-COVID or post-COVID. It did not change much then, right? But it's a constant evolution over the years, right? Every year I could see that there is a marked change on the stuff that I've been doing, the teams that I've been working with, and the working style as well, right? The good bit of when the COVID started, right? The good bit of the industry that I'm in, right? Ours was relatively easier to move remote, right? And it's very easy to move remote in a setup that is already running, right? I was running my own company back then, right? It was unfortunate that we couldn't see the team for the next 2 years, but then still the team has been able to gel well and continue chugging along, right? When you ask about the leadership style, see, I'll tell you, I've been running a bootstrap startup for ages now, right? So liberty of hiring key people at key leadership people at good packages was very limited with us, right? So everything had to be like a deep dive approach into everything, right? So I was the designer, I was the tester, I was the coder as well for some time, right? So I had to like jump into everything to understand how it is working, why it is not working, and what things can be improved, right? The good bit, what happens in this scenario is you get to understand the problems of the team overall, right? And listening to those problems and solving that really helps, honestly, right? And it actually builds your confidence in them and their confidence in you, because they also realize, okay, there will be no unjustified requests that will be coming in. They will be all justified because the person who's asking you to do it also knows the challenges that are there, right? You have to be ready to listen. That is very, very important. So if you talk about the style, it's about being ready to listen to all the ideas and then figure out what's the best way forward.
Fantastic. You spoke a lot about team and really knowing what you're doing, knowing what you're expecting from your team to do. These are qualities of a leader that one really looks up to. So here, if I was to ask you, that when you're hiring somebody, what are the couple of traits that you really look forward to having in your team?
Okay, so I'll come to traits later, but we are not very specific about the educational background, right? Or the experience that they have had till now. Because a lot of times you get really amazing people, those who have just not gotten the exposure or just not gotten the opportunity to work somewhere wherein they can prove themselves, right? So we try to always go for the basics. Logically, if the person is right and if the person is ready to learn, that is the most important thing. Beyond that, everything can be groomed. And when you groom such people, right, they are there for the longer run and they belong to the team and the team belongs to them. That's how it works, right? So we try to build that ground up. Okay, it's not always possible, it's not always necessary as well, right? But that is the approach that we take, right? So the trait is the person should be ready to learn, right? And put in and consider this wherever they're working, right, as their own team and as their own extension of their family, right? See, honestly, you spend most of your hours awake while conversing with your office colleagues, right? So there has to be a social connect to a certain extent, and there has to be a there has to be a feeling of dependency amongst each other, right? And a feeling of someone helping the other person, right? So it's very important. So again, generic terms, if you consider the generic terms, like being a team player, quick learner, and all of those kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right. So really willingness to learn, being a team player, getting along and making sure that, you are there for each other. You spoke some fantastic points there. And you also mentioned how in the last couple of years, one really hasn't had the opportunity to meet and connect with the team on a personal level. So how is it that you have kept your team motivated? How is it that, like you said, maintaining that social link is very important? How have you done that for your team?
That's actually okay. So I would say that I've been really lucky with the team members that I've had in the past and also today. And I'm also amazed at how has the motivation been so high. But see, we what we decided early on was that there will be no defined call that we will do, right? No scheduled meetings and everything, right? We had open rooms since the COVID started, right? We had open online rooms, right? So anyone who wanted a discussion or anyone wanted to have a banter or a chat, they could just log into that room and just have a chat, right? Also, I used to force team to probably just meet up without agendas, right? And that was very important because you need to know what's going on in the life, right? Because one thing that we definitely missed was the water cooler banter that you used to have, right? It's very difficult to replicate it in an online world, right? So you have to like force it to a certain extent, and then again, said one taking an existing setup offline, right? And for work happened screen share at CC, right? And also people knew each. So adding in people there was easy. Yeah.
Right. So, I'd like to take a cue from what you just mentioned and take it to the next level. So, really, all this hybrid ways of working has made the professional and the personal lines sort of blur. And, we sometimes have really late calls. And, like you mentioned, that you have open meeting rooms, one can join whenever it's convenient for them. But how is it that you have personally sort of made sure that you have a work life balance going on for yourself and your team?
Actually, you know what? Now we've moved back to working in offices, right? It has been a more difficult change to come back to office, honestly. Specifically to convince techies to come back to office is like really difficult, right? Because we all went into our comfort zones, right? We have been saving a lot on time, right? So I have a dog. He lives alone when I'm in office, right? He has his own schedule. Where earlier also, when I used to come to office, he has his own schedule. He used to sleep during the day. Now, when I started working from home, he used to like lie around me anywhere in my office home, right? So but then like them again and moving here is again a challenge. But when you say how are we able to manage the balance? Uh, One thing we made sure that they were like start and end of the day, right? They were defined calls that we had set, right? That would mark the start of a day and end of a day. It was very important. Otherwise, initial days, the work used to just spill over the
Right.
entire day. We were like working 15, 16 hours and there was no end to it, right? So we really start respecting the space of the person. Ki, "Acha, theek hai, if he is at home, that does not mean that he's just available to work, right?" Having said this, nothing was stopping us from meeting our friends, right? So that was still going on, right? So, yep, that's how the balance was on.
Right, fantastic. So, here I'd love to ask you that you being a young leader, you're an inspiration to so many. So, what is that one message that you'd like to give to the youth, or what is that one message that you think will help them grow and become a better person and an even better leader?
Okay, so there are two, three aspects to it. Specifically work-wise, a lot of kids nowadays I've seen, they jump at getting an amazing offer from a company. Acha, theek hai, I've gotten this offer, I'm going there, right? It doesn't work that way. These are the formative years, and getting the right experience with the right team is very, very important now. In the initial 3 years, 4 years, whatever that might be. So focusing on the work that you will be doing is very, very important. And ऐसा होता है that initially you might not be able to figure out what domain that you want to get into, but you have to like try your hands at different things and figure out what you're best at and what is it that drives you, right? With respect to not just work, right? It is very, very important to listen. I always say this to everyone: listen to whatever the other person is saying and then speak. And also ensure when you're speaking something and when you're giving any message to anyone, a conversation is not about what you're saying, it's about what the other person has heard, right? So unless until it's the circle is complete that way, it doesn't work, right? Aapne, no matter how much gyan you have given to that person has to hear it and process it, right?
Right.
So you have to listen and ensure that the person has heard. That's about it.
Right. So really experiment, see what you like, be open to listening and learning at the same time. Here you mentioned a very special point about formative years being so very important into turning you into the leader that you are. So if I was to ask you, who was your mentor, your guide in your early days, your early career, that has sort of helped you grow into this leader that you have become today?
Okay, so one thing, when you call me that leader that I've become, aisa kuch nahi hai, right? I'm still in the process of working, right? So I'm a worker still. Having said this, the in the formative years, if you really start from the schooling days, right? I've had a lot of help in thought processes from my father directly, right? Him being an engineer, he did inculcate analytical thinking in my mind, right? How to break down a problem and how to solve it. That was very, very important. Secondly, my peer group from my college was very, very, very important and has been important and remains important to till this date and will continue to be there, right? Because the kind of banter, even the banter that we had, right? Those were so productive. Beyond that, the seniors that we've been working with, that we've been conversing with, have been really guiding us, and it is really helpful. So, for example, my current CEO, Nitin sir, so he is again alumni of the same college, right? I've worked with him on and off in the past, and it's been really helpful the way he guides and the way he helps me understand कि कैसे करना चाहिए in any problem statement. It's really helpful.
Wonderful. You spoke about your college days, and we'd love to know that one memory from IIT. I know a lot remains secret, but one memory that is fun and absolutely nothing to do with the seriousness of life. What would that one memory be?
Oh, damn, that's a difficult question. to answer because hmm, I'll have to think through it, honestly.
Or maybe something from your hostel life. We'd love to have all your friends listen in and watch this episode as well. So one memory that they would hate for you to disclose right here.
That's what makes it more difficult, honestly. Uh, we can pick this up later. Give me some time on this.
All right. Okay. So
Yeah.
so let me get to some more fun part. If I was to follow you and your dog for an entire day, and that would be a weekend, what all will I witness?
Oh, okay. Uh, okay, so over a weekend, so weekends, okay, so one day of a weekend is definitely work. There is some other work that is going on, and it's very helpful because all the overflowing work of the week gets finished there. However, you would find us going on rides. So there are two kinds of rides. I take my dog out for a car ride, maybe on a Saturday night, maybe, right? And I personally go on like bike rides early
Oh, nice.
morning on Sundays. That really helps me like recharge for the next week, honestly, right? And yeah, my dog really loves to swim. So are we considering the summers are approaching, right? So I do take him swimming on Sundays. It's really fun to watch him.
Fantastic. Okay, now that all these questions are over, I really want to ask you, what is that one thing that you're so very proud of yourself and that makes you feel like, oh my God, I did this?
So I have been running my web and mobile services company for quite a long time now. It's been around 10 odd years, right? And the good bit about that was we never had a sales arm. Uh, we never had external support for sales or anything, right? Everything that we did was purely word of mouth,
Okay.
right? And purely repeat. Um, and and that has actually helped me understand, grow, and deliver projects. And since it was all purely repeat and word of mouth, it kept us driven to give the best quality output wherever we could, right? Probably that is the reason a lot of startups and a lot of enterprises know about us. They still used to approach us last year till I was operating it for a lot of projects, right? And we had been able to sign a lot of large, which I think, yes, doing the right, delivering the right output was very, very important. And you just put your head down and continue to work. That's about it. It's been sustaining. We have seen our fair share of ups and downs. 2016 was a really, really bad year for us. Uh, we Before that we were like growing at, maybe we were like doubling every few months. In 2016, a couple of our clients defaulted. There was an e-commerce downturn. There was a funding downturn, right? So we had our entire savings were wiped off during that time. Then we rebuilt it. We changed a lot of processes, right?
Right.
So that learning, so more than yes, I've done it while I'm feeling, it's more that, okay, this is what I've learned over the years,
Right.
right? That is what I cherish more than actually making something.
Fantastic. Well, this has been very, very interesting. And this is where I would love to dive into a rapid fire. So you barely get seconds to give me an answer, either this or that. So let's get started. The first one, active on social media or hardly there?
No, I'm fairly active.
Okay, you use
Fairly
your
active.
own Netflix account or borrow somebody else's password?
Oh, come on. I have shared my account with a lot of people. So it's my own account.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay, bike rides or drives in the car?
bike, definitely. Any given day, bike, yeah.
Early morning outings or late night party person?
Actually, Sundays early morning and Fridays late night. right?
Okay, and let me get straight to the point when I ask this. And this is going to be a little bit controversial because you have grown up in both places. Okay, so is it going to be Gujarati cuisine or delicacies from UP?
No, no, delicacies from UP. Yeah. Not controversial.
And will
I do
it
love
be
Gujarati food, but yeah, delicacies from UP is better for me.
okay? And will it be a hot masala cutting chai or will it be a lightly brewed tea for you?
Hot masala cutting chai. Yes. Actually, I
Fantastic. So we
make very good tea and I'm very specific about it, honestly. But I'm more of a coffee person.
Okay, so well, we're looking forward to meeting you in person very soon for that because, like you said, that connect that happens in person is great. But till that, I'm so very glad that this gave us an opportunity to get to know you so very well, and our viewers a chance to learn about you. Thank you so very much for joining us, Mr. Chaudhary. It's been a delight.
Thanks a lot, Isha, for having me here.
It's time for us to get this conversation started with Mr. Rahul Chaudhary, Head Technology and Product Global B. And what a pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Vikram Mule, Director, Product Marketing, SMB India, South Asia, Lenovo India. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. Let me begin by asking Mr. Chaudhary that what is it that you feel are the top IT challenges that the market is foreseeing, especially in these couple of years?
Okay, so there are two aspects to it. When you say IT, one is the hardware bit of it, and the other is the software bit of it, right? So I'll answer this in two parts. Honestly, the software bit is the challenge is the skill set, right? The skill set of being able to build something quickly. And as of right now, you've seen over the last 2 years, the demand has gone up like anything. Companies have started realizing what role tech plays in their organization, right? It's very, very important. And that's why everyone is trying to pump in money and is trying to build scalable systems around it. And is trying to build the right team around it, right? So having the right key set of people is very, very challenging and it's very important to have it. With respect to hardware, probably Vikram sir can answer it better, but what I've been hearing around here is the semiconductor issues and the shortages. That's about it, what I know right now. And it's not just affecting the computers and this hardware, it's also affecting everything else like the cars and everything, right? So, yeah.
Right. Mr. Mulay, the last couple of years have seen our dependency on technology more so than ever before. And at this point, I'd love for our viewers to get to know from you as to what you feel are the top challenges that IT in a segment of technology is facing in the next 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, thanks, Isha, for that question. As Mr. Rahul said, I think, yeah, hardware is something where I would like to pick up from what he said. Yeah, semiconductor shortage, I guess everyone now is today aware how many different industries are dependent on semiconductors, right? From automobiles to, and God knows which all parts which people didn't even dream of. Yeah, so that's been one challenge for us as Lenovo and as for the industry. I think the good part is it seems to be tiding over it. So that's one good part. But I guess with laptop purchases being at the scale where they are, this will be a challenge which we'll have to still keep on working on it. But two, three other points, again, referring to what Mr. Rahul said earlier about, I like that word, the water cooler banter, as I said, and that's something which technology is having a challenge in meeting, because work from home or hybrid work, I think is more or less the work, the future trend. I don't think people will see 100% people coming back 100% of the time to office. So how does technology also enable conferencing, video conferencing, or any better modes of communication? That's another challenge which we are seeing. And what we have seen is organizations which were placed better off or had a clear thought out strategy are the ones who are succeeding well here. And it's just not about a strategy, but also the right amount of devices coming into the picture. So it was earlier only about, say, the PC devices, but today you have a lot of teleconferencing options and not the costly options which, say, were there pre-pandemic. But today, simpler, easier devices to deploy. And that's the other thing which you're looking at. And third thing, a bit of a different perspective on the software. I think what Mr. Rahul referred to is the backbone of a lot of businesses when he said about software. But what I'm referring to is also software in terms of managing the PC devices. So earlier security wasn't that big a concern where devices were mostly physical closed premises. Now, how do you manage devices for security for devices which are outside the network, or remotely managing the devices, mobile management? That's the third big challenge which we are seeing.
Right. So really finding the right solution and the right strategies for one's organization is what is really going to work in the future. Thank you so very much, Mr. Rahul Chaudhary, Mr. Vikram Mole, and a big thank you to all our viewers for watching this very, very special episode. It's been a pleasure having you both here. Thank you for joining us.